Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable podcast. Today we are here recording episode 85. We are very excited to bring you an episode about body language and different hand gestures in different countries around the world, and obviously in the United States as well. And this episode is for you. One, if you are on the journey to become a polyglot. Two, if you're going to be traveling in the near future and need to know what you can and cannot do regarding body language and gestures in other countries. And three, if you're just curious, what are some common norms that we may have in the United States that might rub some people the wrong way in some different countries. So we're looking forward to bringing this fun episode with you, to you. And I'm curious to see what information Jared has for me today. I always learn something new from him. So without further ado, my good buddy Jared. What's going on, Jared?
Hey there, buddy. Right off the bat, everyone, please follow us. Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. Check it out. Don, our social media ambassador, is getting in on that goodness, and he's a great photographer, and he thinks he's funny, so that's great. Spread a little love. You can also follow us on Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. I retweet things like Kyle Korver's story on privilege. I post a Song of the Pod, which you can also find on our YouTube Song of the Pod playlist. And I post episodes and just other things that come to my mind. Or email us, untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. You can tell us all sorts of stuff. Untranslatables, travel stories, topic ideas. Just tell us what's up. Don't tell us you love us there. Save that for the 5-star reviews. And now my sister knows we do this podcast. She's here this weekend. So, hey, everyone, don't embarrass me and give us some 5-star reviews. Spread a little love. Also, if you don't watch us on YouTube, I was trying to say F you with my hand movements. You familiar with this one? Have you seen, what that's from? Okay, That's from Friends. I was doing the thing where you knock your two fists together.
Doesn't it mean poop or something?
I think it just means F you. Like Ross used to always do it to Monica and stuff.
Okay.
And by the way, as I mentioned, if you look on our, the time has already passed, but if you saw on our Instagram story, I was on the hunt for a language buddy this weekend. Didn't go as planned. Let me be honest with you. So I went to the German the German Society of Pennsylvania, which is down the street from me. Realized I don't think they really. You can't just walk in. I walked up to what I thought was the front door. It was locked, and I saw these old ladies leaving from the side. So I started walking around, and boy, was I getting some looks. I just got out of there.
Okay.
They're like, what is this black boy doing here? He's probably going to rob us all. I did not rob all of them, just 2 of them. So that didn't go as planned. I don't know if I can just walk in there like that. But I did sign up for the Philly AIDS thrift, but I haven't heard back because I just did it the other day. So I'll get back to you on that one. Other than that, turning this unemployment into fun employment still. I noticed that you, Chad, went to a hockey game over the weekend.
Yes, sir. I did.
Chomutov Parady's biggest bad luck charm.
Apparently, man, because we lost again. We lost again.
Slipping on gator piss. You just need to stop going. You're really...
Yeah, so I've been to, I think, 7 or 8 games, and they've won one, maybe 2 games.
Okay.
All the other ones they've lost. However, they've also lost quite a few when I haven't been there, so I don't feel as big of a curse.
Right.
But here's the wild thing. So I went with a good friend of mine who's actually the husband of a colleague of mine at school. They're both fantastic. And so I go there and I ask him, who are we playing? I've been out of the Pirati hockey loop here in Chomutov for a while. I haven't been to any games. Partly because I did feel slightly like a bad luck charm, for sure. But the wild thing was, so they were actually playing a relegation game. So up for big stakes, basically, for our non-sports fans listeners. A relegation game is basically where if the team is doing really bad that season and they're at the bottom of the league, if they lose the relegation games to the other teams, they get bumped down to the second league. Ooh. And sadly, it looks like Pirati will be going that way, unfortunately. But what's even crazier, though, is they played the Czech team Kladno. And Kladno is a town, it's near Prague, but that's not what's interesting about Kladno. The crazy thing about Kladno is that Jaromír Jágr, who is the most famous Czech hockey player, I think, in the world, owns the club and also plays for them, and he still plays for them, and he's 47 years old.
Man. Well, I mean, if he owns it, he can play as long as he wants.
He looked older than the referees, man. I kid you not. But here's the crazy thing about Jágr. He scored the game winner to beat Chomutov. They were tied 1-1, and then he got a pass kind of mid-ice, skated up, and I just had this bad feeling. I saw him skate up. The dude's really tall, is just an imposing figure in general. Got a really long hockey stick as well, and don't mean that in any other ways to be interpreted.
Really bummed
I knew you were going to go there.
I definitely was. I'm like, damn, he added hockey in there. I can't make my stupid penis jokes.
Exactly. But I saw him once he skated past the blue line. I was like, oh shit, this might be a goal. And he had a great move, as we say in English. He juked the goalie out of his jockstrap, broke his ankles, as they say in basketball. And scored. Well. Exactly. So that's unfortunate, but it was still a great time being at the game. And so I don't know if I've told you this, Jared. I think I did maybe the last episode, but I'm going a month without alcohol. And so I was a little worried going to the hockey game because, as I've told you and our listeners before, generally people drink at these hockey games, right?
Right.
So I go there and I find out my friend who I went with, well, one, he was driving. So that means he could have had maximum one beer anyways. But I found out he's actually taking a break from alcohol as well.
Your new best friend.
I was like, whew, okay, good. Don't have to worry about it. But then another one of his friends met up with us. And he buys a beer and he goes, can I buy you a beer? And I'm like, no, like, thank you. I'm taking... And dude, I don't get it. A lot of the Czech people who I've told I'm taking a break from alcohol for a month, they're like, what? Why? What? But beer is healthy. What are you doing?
Do they really think beer's healthy?
Yeah.
What do they consider healthy?
I think one beer isn't going to kill you.
Yeah, but that's different than saying it's healthy. That's like saying eating McDonald's once won't kill you, but it's certainly not healthy.
Right. I don't know, man. It's a great question, and sadly, I don't have the answer to it. But I have to say, though, he was less persuasive than a lot of other people who, when I've told them this, they really are like, oh, just have one beer, you know, we'll just have one. And it's like, what is so difficult about understanding 1 month? That's it. Once it's like May 2nd, we're good.
Right.
You know, what's the big deal? But
yeah, it seems they almost are like offended. It's like, how dare you?
Right. Well, as I may have shared on the podcast, I think obviously this is a very broad and sweeping generalization, but from what I've heard from a lot of the Czech people I've spoken with, the three main things that they tend to be proud of are their beer, their ice hockey, and their beautiful ladies. And all three of those things are absolutely fantastic. Damn good things to be proud of, without a doubt. But hey, just because I'm taking a month off of drinking doesn't mean I dislike Czech beer. Yeah. On the contrary.
That's very true.
But interesting. Also, going back to the German society, is there like a contact person you could email or something?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. I haven't looked into that. That's a good thing to think about. But as you said that, that's probably what I'll do, because they do have a website, and there's a contact on there. So I'll do that. I was excited to go in there though. I want to see what it looked like in there.
Right, but I guarantee you, it's probably only open when they have like events and stuff. I betcha.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess I don't know what I was expecting it to be. But, oh, they have something. I'm actually looking at the website. They do have something called Buch Club, which is German for book club. Oh, I should have started on this website. They also have Conversationsabend, which is German for conversation night. Really blowing a lot of people's mind with my German skills here. Granted, I'm looking at a picture. They are drinking beer. But the youngest person in this picture seems to be 172.
There you go.
Konversationsabend. One of the regular events at the German Society of Pennsylvania is the Konversationsabend, which takes place every second Wednesday of the month, 8 times per year, February through May and September through December, always from 6 to 8 p.m. Our traditional venue is the Ratskeller at the Society. A group of about 20 people meet for an evening of pleasant and stimulating conversation in German. The conversations center on a given theme, usually with a speaker who provides a brief introduction, which is followed by open discussions and refreshments. The theme covers wide ranges of interest, reflecting the diversity of the group. Yeah, real diverse looking group from this picture I'm looking at here. Slipping on gator pits.
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, it's because it's true. I'm looking at the pictures.
I'm sure. They're all probably old white people, am I right?
Of course. I have a friend, she speaks Spanish, and she goes to like a conversations group. And she goes to one that's like a group of people like that as well. And she said she doesn't really like it. She'd rather have like a more one-on-one situation because it's hard to really get, to talk if there's so many people in the group. And like, even if you can...
That's my concern with you, is going to these groups. I could see you sitting there and listening, and that's great. It's really good practice to listen. But
I can understand. I need to say it, speak it.
Right. And here's the thing. I think you should use this Konversationsabend to be a springboard into get to know a couple of people. I don't care if they are 172 years old. I would try to talk to them and be like, look, tell them your story, how you studied in Austria, you lived in Dusseldorf, all that stuff, and just say, look, I'm planning on coming to the Konversationsabend, but I'm also looking for some conversation partners where we could meet maybe once a week, have some coffee or a beer. And, you could even, one thing that I would do, I guess, if I were in your shoes, would invite the person and be like, look, I'll even buy your tea or your coffee or your beer for you as an extra incentive. If they're 172, maybe they won't be as keen on that.
Or your prune juice.
Right.
That's terrible.
If somebody said to me, yeah, Chad, I really want to speak English, can I, buy you a beer or a coffee or whatever? I'd be like, you know what? I probably would have said yes anyways, but now that there's even like a free little drink on top of it, why not?
There was actually one on March 8th that you would have loved. Schumann, Brahms, and Clara Wieck. I don't know who that is. A fateful encounter. So I assume they're talking about music there. Classical
that would have
music
been fascinating.
And there was one actually 2 days ago, a guided tour through the maze of German grammar. That one I'm kind of okay with missing. That sounds kind of boring.
Right.
But yeah, so...
I wonder who tends to facilitate these and is the speaker.
I'm sure there's some sort of member of the society that puts it together.
Do you know, is there a fee?
According to the website,
like you don't have to be a member. You can just drop in and speak German.
Yeah, I don't know. Special expertise, preferences of the speaker, since members of the group. Others teach at local overseas universities. The group welcomes newcomers from all backgrounds. Those who would say, that's me, I'm from all backgrounds. Those who simply simply like to speak German, as well as those who wish to practice and improve their language proficiency in a relaxed and sympathetic environment. Relaxed environment of sympathetic native and non-native speakers. It doesn't say anything, so I assume if it doesn't say anything, I'm just going to show up, see what happens.
Right. Yeah, you might as well. Roll in with that Austrian jacket, though, bro. For real.
Oh, for sure. For sure. That seems very fitting.
If you need my parents to overnight you a pair of lederhosen, let me know.
They might think I'm like making fun of them or something.
That's true. That might be a little too extreme. Save that for the Oktoberfest meeting. That's true.
But yeah, so the hunt for language buddies still continues. But I did do it, and I definitely had to. I couldn't not come back here without having done something.
Right.
Because it's so easy for me also to just not do anything.
Right. Believe it or not, I actually saw I think it was our Instagram, wasn't it? On our story, you posted it.
Oh yeah.
I even saw that. So
good job,
that?
Chad. You saw something on our own Instagram.
That's right.
Were you literally just bragging that you looked at our own Instagram?
Yes, sir. Because you always love to shit on me there. I never know what's going on our social media. I mean, usually I don't. You're right. But it's yeah. It was funny though. You mentioned that because I was going to bring up and ask you how that went there. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, it's not really open like that apparently, which I guess makes sense now that I think about it.
Well, yeah, because they'd have to have somebody there 24 or not 24/7, but 9 to 5 or whenever their hours would be.
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
I guess I figured there'd be some sort of like desk or something, like front desk.
Right. Yeah. Once again, though, that'd be either volunteer basis or they'd have to pay somebody.
Exactly.
So yeah. So Jared, do you remember what I had shared with you the last time we met? what challenge I was going to give myself.
Looks like you're not the only one paying attention. Or not paying attention, shall I say.
So it's related to music.
Related to music. The Beatles. Yeah, you're going to learn a Beatles song.
So not only a song, but once a month, try to learn a new album. Either
I didn't know you meant
either front to back, like the first track to the last one, or I know it's a cheap cop out, but all the songs I like. Because here's the thing, I think there were times when I was studying music where I played music I didn't really like, and I had to do it because I was studying it. Now, because I'm not studying it and I'm just doing it for the pure love and enjoyment of it, I don't really see a need to learn songs I don't like, right?
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
So on Revolver, I think I don't remember how many tracks are, but there's a few of them I'm not a huge fan of, so I'll probably skip over those. But I've already started to learn, I believe it's the first track on the album, it's called Taxman. So I started to learn that. And it's really cool because it's more or less a bunch of funky chords. But I have to say the guitar solo is really difficult. So we'll see how that goes. And this weekend I've just been hanging out here in my apartment here in Chomutov, and I've basically been playing guitar all weekend. Meant to change my strings, didn't get around to it, but maybe I'll do it after we record today. Who knows?
How can you? Is it just like a tedious process?
Not really. The only problem is, so I would change the strings on my acoustic, and depending on the type of acoustic you have, the way you have to change the strings might be differently. So on a steel string, you have these things called bridge pins that basically you put the string down and you use the bridge pin to kind of anchor it in place. And so in order to take the strings off, you have to pop up the bridge pins, right? And you need a special tool for that. I have a cheap tool for it, but it doesn't quite fit the bridge pins very well. So you have to really kind of yank them up. And so I may wait until I go to a music shop and just buy a different little tool for that and then change my strings. It still sounds all right. I'm just noticing the tone's a little bit more dead than I'm used to with them. So we'll see.
How can you tell when it's time to change it? Is it like it doesn't stay in tune as long or something like that?
Actually, well, my experience with guitars is usually if the strings are on for a long time, usually they stay in tune pretty well because they're fairly stretched out. It's when you first put on strings, you actually have to physically stretch the strings in order to keep them in tune, and that's why they go out of tune, because they're not stretched yet. But the difference is they just feel kind of dead. The tone isn't quite there. They're not as bright. And sometimes the strings get really, really old. They get rusty, because it is metal.
Right.
But my strings aren't that old. I try to change them depending on how much I play. If I'm playing a lot, maybe once a month. If I'm not playing that much, maybe once every other month or 3 months or so. Can
we talk about real quick? You and I have started our jam session. We tried to do it in real time, and that was quite the technical headache.
It was. Can
so
you describe what we had to do?
I don't even know. But we had to we tried to, we couldn't get it so we could talk to each other and hear our instruments at the same time. So we thought we were clever by using both Skype and FaceTime simultaneously, using FaceTime for our instruments and Skype for our voices, but that did not really work. Now I have my fourth jam track here, and I want to play it, and while I'm playing it, I want you to critique it for me.
Okay.
All right. Do that?
Sure.
So this is you on the guitar, obviously.
Yep.
This is making me very uncomfortable already because I'm very self-conscious about my playing.
This is a part I really like.
I'm like sweating over here.
It's good.
I've never been happier
reason to be worried.
that no one listens to our podcast than right now.
our listeners in over 10 different countries might beg to differ, Jared.
Hey!
Right. All right.
You feel free to talk. You can put it low.
Okay. So first of all, so Jared has sent me this. That was the fourth one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So, the first one, I'm gonna be. I don't mean to rip you new in here, Jared. The first one was all over the place. Mm-hmm. I really liked the second one you had.
Okay.
The third one was even better. This one is pretty good.
Do you like the third one more?
I think, as I told you earlier, I would somehow like you to synthesize the third one and the fourth one. Mm-hmm. But so first of all, it was funny though. It was either the second or the third one. The piano came in really hot, like I could barely hear anything. Now I think you need to turn the piano up a little.
I thought you might say that. I think I did that almost out of I was self-conscious, not about it being too loud because I noticed that too, just about my playing,
That's fair. So all right. So here, can we do this now? I think the easiest way for us to discuss this is I'd like you to play a passage. I'll put my finger up like this to stop, and then we'll discuss it. So our listeners can also, because it's over. I think it's 40 seconds of music
20.
or so. A minute and 20. Okay, So it's a minute 20 of music. That's a lot to talk about and break down. So let's start off. Play it. I'll put my finger up when I want you to stop it, and we'll discuss it. Sound good?
All right. I like this part right here. This is actually my favorite part before I come in.
Okay. So I don't know if it's because of the quietness of the piano or what, but I felt like there was a really long gap in the melody. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was because I couldn't hear the piano or if you didn't play.
No, I didn't play. I played like that first, then nothing for a bit. Besides for that, just bass line.
Right. So I would say the first thing is there needs to be a little bit more connectivity because you only play a couple notes. If you want to establish a melody, I personally think there should be, you could repeat that phrase that you started with or bring the phrase up or bring it up and back down or even down and up. Something like this, I think would catch the listener's ear because when I hear that, and then I hear piano, and then I don't hear it other than the bass line. I'm like, what happened? Did the piano player fall over? What happened? What's going on here? And so that would be, I guess, my first little critique would be continue with the melody because it's now if this was the middle of our little jam track, I would say sure, leave some space. But because it's the very beginning, I think it's good to establish that melody. The other thing too that I really like is that you didn't come in right at the beginning. You let the groove go, so that kind of gets the listener into it. It's a nice little, I wouldn't really call it an intro, but just kind of a groove, right? Okay, so good. So all right, so hit play again. Let's keep listening. Okay, so that part I really like. I think.
Well, that's what you just. That's kind of what you just mentioned that I should do earlier. Is
right.
The sequences
so you could even
up and down.
scoot. Right. So you could even scoot that back. Right. So you play that little phrase and then you play that. Yeah. Now the one thing though, I think if there's a way for you to record this, so you're using a keyboard. So I wonder, could you? You really are sweating bullets, aren't you?
Watch this on YouTube.
Right? If there's a way you could make the keyboard, if there's an effect where you can make it sound like a bass. Because right now it just sounds like the bass being played on a piano, which is okay, but I think if you could make it sound like an upright bass or an electric bass or whatever, would give it a slightly different texture. Because
I could probably do it in GarageBand. But they just all sound so computery to me,
Well, no. What I'm saying is, I don't know what kind of keyboard you have, but at least the keyboard I have back at my parents', you can click through the settings, and there's a bass sound.
Right. And it doesn't sound. Well, mine doesn't have a lot of settings on it, though.
Okay,
as far as that goes. And there is a bass one, but it doesn't sound like a bass at all to me.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, then scratch that. But yeah, so I like that melody though. We're starting to get somewhere with it. So hit play again. Let's keep going. Yeah, this is good. Okay, stop it. So I like that as well. I like how it goes up. There are two things you could do with that. You could keep the phrase ascending or going up. Do 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 do, kind of like that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, though, I think that melody is really good. I think it has a nice sound to it. I also think I don't know if you were thinking of this when you were writing this, but I think you were also doing a good job outlining the chords.
Thanks.
Or jamming to it.
What I did also is I did the bass line, I did those in separate parts. So I did that first, and then I went back and added the all the higher stuff after.
Right. That's smart. That's really smart. Good. So that part's solid. So keep it going. Also good. Can you pause it? So there, what might be kind of nice would be add thirds or fifths so you have some harmony with it. Mm-hmm. That would sound pretty cool, I think, with that part.
Okay.
Yeah, other than, I think, adding a couple things to harmonize on it or even build a chord on top of it would be pretty cool. But otherwise, I think it's good. There's a couple spots that seem like they are a little bit out of time.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's probably just because you're improvising, which is normal. You know, when I'm improvising, I'm playing guitar. It's definitely not always on beat or on time. So I think that's fine. All right, keep going, though. Okay, stop it. So I like that little sequence you had there, that phrase. Mm-hmm. I think what you could do is make that phrase even longer and keep going up and then bring it back down to where you had it.
Okay.
That might be kind of cool as well. Not that the phrase afterwards sounds bad. I just think there might be more connectivity.
There's more to it.
Yeah. So keep going.
All right, hold on. Let me go back a little bit because I went.
Yeah, I like that part. There you go. You got the little harmony in there. Yeah, I got the harmony in there. Good. Okay, so the last little thing I would do.
I don't know how to end it, too. That is the hard part.
Yeah.
That's why I just let you end it.
Right. So what I would do, I like the fact that you hit the keys before the guitar ends. Mm-hmm. But I think what you should do is time it so when the guitar hits that, I think it's an A minor chord. I could be wrong.
I think it is. It probably should be, because if it starts in A minor, it should end in A minor, shouldn't it?
In theory, you could probably end it in C too, C major, if you really wanted. Mm-hmm. But what would be cool is if you ended it as well on an A minor chord, and I would suggest either an A minor 7th, A minor 9th, or if you want to get really funky, A minor sharp 11 or A minor 13.
All right,
Those
relax.
Are some fancy jazz chords. But I think the 13th chord has a cool kind of ending sound to it. Uh-huh. At least it does on guitar. I'm sure it would on piano as well. That was cool, though. We might have to do more jams like this and talk about them on the pod. I would love to hear what some of our listeners have to think about our jam as well. Don't rip us to shreds too much. It was our first ever jam. I think Jared did a fantastic job. Let us know what you think. untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. Would there be a way, Jared, that we could also... you're welcome to toy with it more before we post it, but this would be an interesting thing also to pop on our Instagram because it's short enough, right?
It's a minute 20. It needs to be a minute, but I can cut it a little bit and play around with it.
Are you sure you can't have stuff longer than a minute? I think they can be longer than a minute now.
Jared, listen to Chad. Listen to Chad talking like he knows what the F he's talking about. No, it has to. There is like IGTV kind of thing, but like just in a normal post. It can't be longer than a minute.
Gotcha. All right.
And if you want, we could also sometimes like an episode come in with those as like our intro songs. Change up the intro song every now and again.
Yeah, I think we should. I tell you what, man, I'm going to be having a lot of music coming your way and our listeners' way, hopefully, once I'm back in Michigan, because I'll have all my actual equipment.
And free time, a lot of free time too.
Exactly. It was funny. I was FaceTiming with my parents today for a bit, and they asked me what my plans were for the summer when I came back, and I was like, you know what? Other than seeing my friends and spending time with my parents, playing the shit out of all my guitars once I get home is the main goal.
Do you miss them? You miss your other guitars?
Oh, of course. I miss my classicals, my electrics, all my amps and stuff, without a doubt. I'm sure all of our listeners who are musicians out there can relate to that as well. But I think you did a great job, Jared.
Thank you.
I don't think my guitar playing is perfect either. I think the timing could be a little bit tighter. But I was trying to set kind of a laid-back vibe. As my Steam podcasting shirt says, laid-back vibes. And those were the vibes I was trying to give.
Not like your official podcast uniform that you're wearing right now. You look like a cartoon character on this podcast.
That's the plan. That's the goal. I mean, if you look at our logo, I have already been cartoonized or cartoonicized or whatever the right word is. So.
Yeah, that's very true. All right, enough of me sweating through my shirt. Let's spread a little love.
Let's do it. So I guess the first one I'd like to give, since we're on the topic of music, our esteemed inspiration for On the Road Again, Mr. Willie Nelson, has rescued 70 horses from slaughterhouses to roam on his ranch in Texas.
Oh, nice.
On the road again.
Shout out. That's
That's
cool.
right. That's right. So thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
7 horses get slaughtered? I mean,
that's what I was wondering too. I don't know why they do get slaughtered, but apparently, yeah.
I thought it was only like an old racehorse or something like that.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I guess they might. Maybe they're. I don't think they're slaughtered for food purposes, but I could be wrong.
I don't think horse is a mass-produced meat like that.
But I wonder if they slaughter them for the use of their hides or their bones or something.
They do use don't they use hooves for glue to make glue or something like that?
Do they? I have no idea.
Okay.
I have absolutely no idea. But I think that's really great that Willie Nelson has saved 70 horses, and now they are safe and happy at his ranch, which they call Luck Ranch, out in Texas, about 30 miles away from Austin, Texas. So big ups to Willie and also his family. It seems like they really do a lot to give back in terms of animals and different things like that. And he was also a big instrumental part of Farm Aid, which gave a lot of money to farmers in need. So thank you, Willie Nelson, for being just a great all-around human being.
Yeah.
And one of my absolute favorite country stars out there as well. My next shout-out goes out to South Korea. So South Korea in the past used to recycle 2% of its food waste. What percentage, Jared, do you think that South Korea now recycles?
15.
95% of food waste
It's a big jump.
in South Korea is recycled.
Okay.
So I think that's absolutely fantastic. And they are the leading country in the world right now in terms of recycling food waste. Now, I'm not 100% sure what exactly goes into this. I don't know if by recycling they mean composting or what. But in 2005, kind of a fun fact, dumping food in landfills was banned. And in 2013, the government introduced compulsory food waste recycling using special biodegradable bags. An average four-person family pays $6 a month for the bags, a fee that helps encourage home composting. So there you go. The bag charges also meet 60% of the cost of running this program, which, as I said, increased the amount of food waste recycled from 2% in 95 to 95% today. The government has approved the use of recycled food waste as fertilizer, although some becomes animal feed. So there you go. And they also use these really interesting smart bins. And in Seoul, there is 6,000 automated bins equipped with scales and radio frequency identification, which weigh food waste as it's deposited and charge residents using an ID card. The pay-as-you-recycle machines have reduced food waste in the city by 47,000 tons in 6 years.
Damn. So
yeah.
So they have to take their compost to a certain spot, and they get charged for how much it weighs. Essentially, incentivizing people to bring less, is what you're getting at.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I remember when I lived in Germany, we had, they have the 3 bins, or
Yep.
3 or 4.
I think it might be 4 in some places, but yeah.
I think we had like a general one, and then one that was yellow, which I think was like batteries and plastics and stuff like that, and and then another one was, and then the third one was brown, which was the compost. And we composted when I lived in Germany. Then, as soon as we came back to America, we stopped.
Yep, I think that's a story that a lot of Americans have.
Which is why I think it's important to incentivize it, because clearly,
Absolutely.
like, my family had no problem with doing it. It was just there was quote unquote no reason for us to do it once we were back in Michigan in the U.S.
Right. And I separate all my garbage here in the Czech Republic, and it's no problem. We really should do it in the States, but you're 100% right, Jared. The fact that it's not incentivized, and for my parents, now they actually do have a recycling truck that comes by. But before that, my parents would have had to drive about 5 to 10 miles just to drop off their recycling. And it's like, what busy person in their right minds are actually going to do that? You would hope environmentally conscious people that we all should be doing this, but the truth of the matter is, sadly, we don't. Speaking of the environment, my next shout out goes out to the country of Chile, which is leading the electric vehicle charge in Latin America. So there was a massive cargo ship docked in the Chilean port of San Antonio at the end of November, which carried the first 100 electric buses from China. That
BYD?
Chileans, I have no idea, probably.
Okay, probably.
From China, that Chileans will help revolutionize their public transport. Chile's ambitious plan to face down its capital, Santiago's notorious smog problem, includes the rollout of electronic scooters, cars and taxis, as well as lorries for use in the mining industry. So I think it's, I think it's fantastic that in Chile they are, once again, kind of incentivizing the use of electric cars with having more charging ports than any other South American country currently. So I think that's absolutely fantastic.
For sure.
And keep up the good work, Chile.
I think it's hard for some countries to do it in Latin America, or South America specifically, because Brazil has such a large natural gas and oil market there.
Right.
Which,
so does Venezuela too, right?
I'm not sure. I know Brazil does, but I'm not sure about Venezuela. And so I think there's also an incentive for people not to go electric, because certain fuels can be rather cheap. But it's cool to see that people, in spite of that, are recognizing the benefits of this. And I think we need more of this. I love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Jared, do you happen to have the time by chance?
I'm glad you asked. 1:15 untranslatable o'clock.
Oh, perfect. Just on time.
Untranslatables are idioms, sayings, phrases, proverbs from all around the world in different languages. We translate them to English, and usually when we do, at least the point, is that the literal translation makes no sense. However, it actually means something. So I'll start. My first one is Bengali, and it is Kasta na karale kesta mele na. And that means do not match the painkiller. We have a Untranslatable, very popular here in the United States.
The taste of your own medicine?
No, but you're on the right track. That might have just confused by saying you're on the right track. Think about you and I talk a lot about exercising, and something that we always like about our
no pain, no gain.
There you go.
All right. Okay.
Do not match the painkiller. So I think that's saying, like, what are they saying? Like, don't try to fight the pain. Essentially, is what they're getting at. It's
Maybe,
like, accept it.
Seems like it. Yeah, that would make sense.
I do like feeling sore after a good workout. You know, it feels like you did something.
Right, for sure. Well, I have I have 3 of them for you today. 2 are Thai, 1 is Czech. I'm going to start with the Thai one.
I have a Thai one too. How crazy is that?
Nice. So my Thai one was inspired by our Song of the Pod artist, which we'll get to later. But here we go. Kong Kwian, Kam Kwian, which means cartwheel, cart spokes.
Cartwheel, cart spokes?
When I say cartwheel, I don't mean like a cartwheel. I mean like a cart, the wheel of a cart.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
For our listeners out there, a cartwheel is it's kind of like a somersault or it's a gymnastic move.
But
I mean cartwheel like the wheel of a cart.
Cartwheel, cart spokes. It's like I need the whole story or something like that, or it's like a cartwheel.
We have an untranslatable in English that if I say this,
Don't
I think
put the
it'll
horse
give it
before
away.
the carriage.
Nope.
Oh,
nope.
So
Nope.
proud of myself too.
We have an untranslatable, kind of similar in English. If I say it, I'm going to give it away.
Can you give me a clue of some sort? Because I'm at a loss.
So cartwheel and I guess cart spokes are on something that is round.
What goes around comes around?
I knew it would give it away, but you're right.
Okay.
Yeah, basically what one does will be returned by karma. So what goes around comes around.
Oh, so it's saying like what the wheel does, the spoke will do too, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll do my Thai one since you just did one. Kichang Jap Dak Ga Ditien. I'm sure I said that last word wrong, but let's not even concern ourselves with that. Riding an elephant to catch a grasshopper.
So that's just like doing something that makes no sense, right? Doing something incredibly illogical?
Kind of. Let's put it this way. Sometimes I feel this way when I do all this podcast stuff that I do.
So doing a lot for a little. Yeah. Okay.
A person who puts in a lot of effort to achieve something insignificant.
Well, I am here to tell you it's not insignificant. All right, Jared, I'll give you another Thai one. Klom pen luk manau, which means round as a lime.
Round as a lime. Round as a lime. What goes wrong? I'm kidding.
That would be good, wouldn't it?
I have no idea.
That would be interesting to do an episode of similar meaning untranslatables. Might be really difficult, but that would be interesting.
I think it's harder to do that. Like sometimes I find some that are similar, but it's harder to like plan for that. You know?
Right. Oh, for sure.
It's usually more of a coincidence where I was like, oh, this one also means the devil's beating his wife, for example.
Right. That was so funny when we were in Berlin talking to Matthias and how he
blew his
talked
mind.
about that. Blew mine as well.
I mentioned I talked about Matthias today with my sister. She was asking me about Berlin and stuff, and I was like, well, the first night we met this guy, and he was quite the interesting character.
Yeah, he's awesome. So if you're listening, Matthias, thanks again for the hospitality while we were in Berlin.
He's not listening.
God damn it, Jared. You do this every time. All right. So Klompek luk manau, round as a lime.
Yeah, I got nothing. My untranslatable game is weak today.
Let me try to give you a clue here. All right, Jared. So say you're cooking something, and you're going to use some limes, and as every smart person who cooks, you should always wash your fruits and vegetables before you consume them or chop them up or do whatever, right?
Including limes?
I mean, I might. You never know. Maybe you don't do this with limes. I'm just showing that I'm a horrible cook here. But if you were to wash a lime,
maybe that's why, because I did just use a lime the other day. So
there you go. So you cook your lime, and then you try to grab it, but it's too wet and it slips out of your hands.
Okay. I still don't understand where the untranslatable would come in.
I mean, if you cut the lime and it wasn't round, you could probably get a good hold of it, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Or if it's round,
is it like Butterfingers? Like you're a Butterfingers?
It more is related to a person.
Clumsy.
Crafty and slippery. Round as a lime.
Clumsy.
Right.
Okay.
Being crafty and slippery. So there you go.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's interesting that they
right?
consider limes slippery.
Like I said, I guess if they're wet, they might be a little slippery. I don't know. All right. So my last one is Czech. And I have to give a special thanks to Pavlina for sending this one my way. And it is Pro jedno kviti slunce nesvieti.
Well, jedno means another. Or
It
round.
actually means one.
Okay.
It actually means one.
Oh, yeshte yedno means another one.
Yeah, another one. Yeah.
Okay.
And this means the sun doesn't shine for just one flower.
It means we're all beautiful angels.
Not quite.
Or it's like
we have an untranslatable that has to do with fish.
oh, there's plenty of fish in the sea.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I don't buy into that whole soulmate crap.
Maybe that's because you haven't found your soulmate yet, Jared.
That's actually very likely.
But I agree with you, though. At least I do like, I would be willing to bet there is that type of untranslatable in a lot of different languages.
Oh, for sure. I think I've said one of those before in a different language a while ago.
Right. Because I think we've all needed to be consoled after a difficult breakup and be told, hey, it's all right. You're not the only flower. The sun doesn't shine for just one flower. So there you go.
Maybe when you're getting all sad about, some breakup or something, what someone will do might be hug you. But some people might be like, whoa, this is not proper etiquette. This is my attempt at a segue as you just look on blankly at me.
No, I caught it. I caught it.
First, so we're talking about body language and sort of like different sort of ways people communicate with each other that it does not involve verbal communication, which made me think of one of the greatest movies on earth. This is an exaggeration. Hitch, featuring Will Smith and Kevin James. 60% of all human communication is nonverbal body language. Granted, this is from a movie with Will Smith and Kevin James, so I don't know if that's scientifically true, but that's like the first line of the movie.
I would say there's some truth to it. The number might not be right.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. There's definitely truth to it. One of my biggest struggles as far as body language goes, and then we'll get into other people, because this is really about us, is eye contact. I'm terrible at eye contact. My sister and I we went to breakfast this morning, and we were talking and looking at each other, and I was like, what are you looking at? She's like, you. And I was like, oh, I thought there was something on my face.
Oh, that's funny.
I just got so uncomfortable. I was like, is there something on my face? I don't know what it is, but I can't do eye contact. Another
As Jared avoids eye contact with me while he's... No, I'm just kidding.
Another one that always catches me off guard is the cheek kisses. That one is another one that we'll have to get into.
For sure.
There's a whole lot of etiquette around that one. So first, let's talk about greeting each other.
Okay, let's do it.
What are some of your popular go-to greetings for people? Physical, obviously not verbal.
Dude. No. Physically, I mean, it depends on the person. So if it's usually someone older than me that I don't know super well, normal, traditional Western handshake, right? And I say Western handshake. Why I say that is because in the West, especially in the United States, you're supposed to greet someone with a firm handshake, right?
And with your right hand.
Yes, and with your right hand. Exactly.
Have you ever had someone come at you with a left hand, and you're like, "What are you doing?"
I've actually shook people's hands with my left hand because either their right hand was holding something or mine was.
Oh, that's different.
You always kind of joke about it. Like, oh, sorry, wrong hand. But, which makes me mad as a lefty because it's not the wrong hand; it's just a different hand. But anyways, I digress. But the thing is with handshakes, I never know how long you should shake how many shakes and how long do you hold it? And it seems like a lot of people here in the Czech Republic shake hands for a really long time. And I always feel awkward because I start to, loosen my grip and they're still like gripping it and shaking it. And I'm like, oh, now I just feel really awkward. Cool.
Dude, I hate those extended handshakes where they're like already like mid conversation and just holding onto your hand.
They're still shaking it. Exactly.
Yeah, I hate that. God, I hate that.
Which is funny because I showed my students a video that was, it was from Conan O'Brien's show, and he was at a Southern etiquette school. And what in I think North or South Carolina, and what the woman told him was, in her cute little Southern accent, 2 pumps and then down, is what she said. So basically, I wish that was more accepted or more well known in other places? Because it would just be nice that 1, 2, and then you're done with your handshake.
Well, let's talk about how people shake in other countries.
Let's do it.
So let's start with, apparently, visitors to China want to lighten their grip, and folks introducing themselves. Oh, excuse me. Let me start over. On the surface, it may seem pretty straightforward, but a handshake isn't as simple as it seems. It's right hand only in the Middle Eastern countries, where the left hand is considered. Okay, well there you go. Where the left hand is considered unclean. That made me a little mad.
You know why though, right?
Because they. Is it have anything to do with eating / What is it?
After eating.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I don't want to make that assumption. And
so at least I don't know about the Middle East, but I do know in Africa, in certain countries in Africa, the left hand is known as the wiping hand. And I think it might also be the case in India as well, but I could be wrong.
Say. I'm not sure either, but I was thinking of the same thing.
Right. So you never want to give a gift with your left hand. Pass food with your left hand, shake with your left hand, anything like that in some of those countries.
They say that it's important to note that in these countries, visitors should wait for members of the opposite sex to extend a hand. I don't know what that means. Someone's got to... So who?
I'll translate it for you. That means that women should offer their hand first.
Okay. I didn't know if they meant men should offer their hand first or women should offer their hand first.
I think, and see, here's the thing. I think... At least I have some friends from Saudi Arabia, from Egypt, from Morocco, from Tunisia, and they have, all, more Arabic cultured countries. And they all have told me that generally speaking, you do not engage in any physical contact, even a handshake with a woman, unless it's your family or you know them fairly well. And generally, now I don't know if it's true or not that the women tend to offer the handshake first. I'm not really sure. I've never been to the Middle East before, but I think with most of the things we'll be discussing today, the best way to figure these things out is just to observe and be smart about it.
Yep. They say Germans stop with one firm downward yank. I haven't noticed that.
I think that's about true.
I haven't noticed that. I've noticed some extended handshakes coming from Germans. Not sure what to do if your hand is dirty or wet. There are country-specific procedures. In Morocco, you touch the back of your right hands. In Rwanda, you grab wrists, which I kind of like that. I like that sort of. It's like you're a pirate when you do that. That seems very piratey to me. In Botswana, things are more complicated, even when hands are clean. The local hand shape has multiple steps that should be completed as follows. Clasp right hand, shake up and down once, interlock thumbs, raise your arms to the right angle, grasp hands again, then release to a relaxed shake. That's going full dap at that point.
I like that one. Can I just say, if it were my choice, I would go fist bump all day long.
Yeah,
it's sanitary, it's quick, it's easy. Don't got to feel nobody's clammy hands. Just a quick boom and you're done.
You know what they recommend in schools here in the U.S.?
What's that?
Is the elbow. They recommend elbows in some schools.
Right.
Just
makes
to avoid
sense. It's more sanitary.
Yeah, for sure. It just looks dumb.
Fun fact, Jared, did you know you pass more germs, I believe, doing a handshake than you do kissing someone?
I'd believe that. I mean, my hand touches way more stuff than my mouth does.
Right.
On some days. Oh, jeez. So let's get some different ones. In Tibet, do you know what they do in Tibet?
No idea.
They stick out their tongue. And this tradition started back when they had this terrible king a long time ago. And it all began with monks who would stick out their tongues to show that they come in peace because... And they weren't the reincarnation of a cruel 9th century king known for having a black tongue. So they're like, I'm good, bro. Look at this clean tongue.
Oh, nice. That's cool. I like that one. Okay.
So there's in I never know how to say this. Qatar, Yemen, Oman. They bump noses, which we have a term for that in the U.S., which I think is offensive nowadays. Are you allowed to say?
Probably.
Are you allowed to say that anymore?
It's called an Eskimo kiss, but yeah, it's probably offensive. I mean,
yeah.
you could call it what people call it when pets do it, which would be a boop.
Okay.
Boop would be probably less offensive, maybe.
But apparently, like this is not just like a with people you know well. This is like a business context. You do that, where it's in a business setting. Like, boom.
That would weird me out a little bit. Like going to a business conference room and just okay, we're really doing this. All right.
But I guess it'd be even more offensive if they're all used to that and you go in for a handshake and they're like, all right, I see how it is. You don't trust me or something. Now. One I mentioned, probably one of the most popular ones, the air kiss. The air kiss in itself is a whole stressful situation. Just thinking about it, I'm starting to sweat like I was.
What do you mean the air kiss? Can you give me some?
The air kiss
info?
is the numbers depends on where you're at, but it's where you do like the cheek.
But you don't actually kiss the cheek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you like touch cheeks essentially and kiss in the air. And so there are a couple different standards. Are you familiar with the different standards without looking? Could you tell me how many the number of kisses you do in different areas? So let me ask you this. For example, if you were in Argentina, Chile, Peru, Mexico, or apparently specifically Sao Paulo, Brazil, or Colombia.
One on each side.
Good job.
One on each side.
No, I take that back. You said one. And that's what threw me off.
No,
it's just
one on each side.
But it says just one air kiss is standard, not one on each side.
I see. Okay.
In Spain, Portugal, Quebec, Paraguay, Italy, the Philippines, and Paris, that's two. And that would be the back and forth, one on each side.
Right. Don't they sometimes do even more than that in Paris?
Well, in Paris, they just make out. And Russia.
Oh, that's funny.
In Russia and Ukraine and some parts of France, they do 3.
Okay.
And after 3, I'm like, come on.
3's a lot.
And sometimes they say up to 4. And I'm like, hey, come on. This is too much.
Right.
And so it adds a level of complexity, like if you get into gender roles and relationships. Because apparently...
Sure.
In all the countries we mentioned before, obviously, because women are way less concerned with their sexuality as men are. So women are usually going to air kiss each other, and no matter what the culture is.
Right.
And men and women, and most of those that I named before, will also do the air kiss. But only in Argentina is it routine. Although I think also Italy, at least from my experience.
Okay.
But they say Argentina specifically, are one of the few ones where men will air kiss each other. And really, it's all just this fake masculinity stuff. But if you don't want to air kiss, listen, we don't know each other like that. If you're in New Zealand, forget the kissing. But it is they have something called a hangi, which is like you just rub your forehead and nose together.
Really interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay. I was seeing where you were going to go with that when you kept saying rub. I was like, oh, where are you going to take this?
What, you guys rub each other's crotches or something?
Hey, who am I to judge, Jared? Who am I to judge?
That'd be hilarious. And then in Malaysia, it's the formal thing to do is to take the opposite person's hand lightly in yours, then release the other person's hands and bring your hand to your chest and nod slightly to symbolize goodwill and an open heart. It's polite for the other person to return the gesture. Note that men should wait for the local women to extend a hand. And I think it's similar to what you were saying before.
Right.
It's, interesting.
Right.
This as I mentioned, as Will Smith, a.k.a. Hitch, said, 60% of all human communication is nonverbal. This adds a lot of stress to me. This is a lot of stress for me. I remember when last time I was in France and we were meeting students and they did the air kisses, and it's just a lot of pressure,
I can just picture you not being comfortable in that situation.
I don't like people really touching me, but when in France, you do what you got to do. I'm not going to be that one person nah. That's way worse.
Right, for sure.
I'd much rather just put myself in uncomfortable situations than be like, no. Not feeling it.
Right. That's when you gotta just turn your head and give him a kiss on the lips. No, don't do that.
I mean, that's one of the fears where it's like we're gonna like start on the wrong side and just kiss each other on the mouth. In Greenland, in Tuvalu, have you heard of Tuvalu? I'm gonna look it up. Tuvalu. Oh, okay. Tuvalu is in the South Pacific. It's an independent island nation within the British Commonwealth, and it's 9 islands that comprise of a bunch of small islands. And in Tuvalu and Greenland, they sniff each other's faces. There's nothing quite like the smell of someone you love or someone you've just met.
I guess so.
In Greenland, kunik, the Inuit tradition of placing your nose and upper lip against someone's cheek or forehead and sniffing is limited to very close relationships. But on the island of Tuvalu, pressing cheeks together and taking a deep breath is still part of the traditional Polynesian welcome for visitors. All right. I mean, okay.
Interesting. So we've talked a little bit about greetings, Jared, and the proper way to greet. I would like to discuss hand gestures a little bit because cross-culturally, hand gestures can have some very different meanings. So the first one I would like to discuss, which can be very controversial depending on where you are, is the kind of the curling the index finger with the palm facing up. For our people watching on YouTube, it's when you kind of go like this, which we use like as in, come here. Come here,
and
right?
But it is even for us, I would say it's kind of not offensive. I mean, I guess it is offensive, but it is sort of like condescending.
Something like your parents do.
Yes.
Like, come here, like you're in trouble, come here, right? Well, here's the thing. So this is a common gesture in the U.S., also parts of Europe to like come closer, right? I might do that actually.
I would do a full hand.
Full hand, exactly.
The finger thing seems kind of condescending to me.
It does. But here's the thing. In other countries, however, such as China, Malaysia, Singapore, and the Philippines, it's considered extremely impolite to use this gesture with people. They only use this gesture to beckon dogs in Asian countries. And fun fact, in the Philippines, if you do this gesture, the come here gesture, it can get you arrested.
Whoa.
Yep. So be very careful with that gesture and do not use it in the Philippines. The next one I want to discuss is the kind of rock and roll symbol. It's where your index finger and your pinky are out and your other fingers are, I guess, like you make like a fist with it. In the States, we use this as like a rock on symbol, or if you're from Texas, it's a Texas Longhorn symbol.
Grab the bull by the horns.
That's right. However, in different countries, such as Mediterranean and Latin countries, countries such as Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Cuba, Spain, Italy, and Portugal, believe it or not, this sign is a signal to show someone or tell someone that their spouse is cheating on them.
What?
Yeah.
It's like a subtle way to be like, bro.
Pretty crazy, right? Yeah.
Just so you know.
Right. Which is really funny, though, because in English, if you stick your thumb out, so you have your thumb out, your index, and your pinky, that means I love you.
Really? Oh, England, you mean?
In the U.S.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is I love you.
Did you know that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I wouldn't have said that had I not known it.
I thought you read it somewhere. I don't know.
No.
I've never known that before.
But yeah. So don't be doing the rock on symbol or the longhorn symbol unless you want to freak one of your friends out in Brazil or other countries like that.
One of my favorites is the peace sign. Not to do, but because if you hold your hand the wrong way and you're in the UK, for example, you're essentially telling someone to fuck off.
Yep.
It's like the middle finger for us, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So which way is the peace and which way is F off?
Peace is when your palm is facing forward.
Okay.
You can see the fingers. F off is more like a V, like when you turn your hand. And so your knuckles are facing outwards. So that's and I think it's more countries than just England. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I believe
think in some Asian countries as well, it's also a bad one. What's interesting too is, so in the U.S. we'll put our thumb and our index finger together, making kind of a circle, and have our middle ring and pinky fingers up. And in American English,
I'm going to
and maybe
screen cap that and save it and say Chad's a white supremacist.
oh god, oh yeah, it does mean that, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, that's now a very controversial thing to do these days.
Well, before the white supremacists ruined it, it used to mean okay.
Right.
Or everything's all right, you know?
It's also the symbol that a black fraternity, the Kappas, use. That's like their symbol.
Okay.
So they put that up as well. And I assume
Okay.
the black fraternity is not using it as a white supremacy symbol.
Probably not. Probably not. But what's interesting is France and Germany, if you do the OK symbol, it actually means 0 or nothing. In Japan, if you're in a professional setting, this means money. We kind of go like this. Like
rubbing our...
we rub our index and our middle finger and our thumb together, and that means like something is like money or expensive. And now what's interesting, though, is this OK sign in some Mediterranean and Arabic countries, that gesture can actually also be an obscenity.
Oh.
So it's kind of interesting the different types of hand gestures and what they mean in other countries. What's also interesting...
Nowadays, I give... and whenever I see that symbol, I'm automatically giving the side eye to someone like, all right, why is this symbol being used? Like, you just never know. I don't know.
Right.
It's so divisive these days.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. What else is interesting, too? So in the United States... we tend to wave goodbye like with our palm out, and we move it right to left or left to right, right? But in countries, in some parts of Europe and Latin America, this can actually be a signal for no.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, I guess you do that like if someone's like offering you more of something, you're like, no. I've had enough.
Right. And then in Malaysia, you should not point with your index finger. But what's interesting is you can point with your thumb in Malaysia.
How do you feel about those people that point with their middle finger? I never understand that move.
There are some countries where they do that. I forget which countries. I don't know. It doesn't really bother me. I mean, as long as it's clear you're not flipping me the bird, or for our non-native English speakers, using your middle finger to insinuate "fuck you," I'm okay with it. I don't see it as a big problem. But yeah, it's really interesting. All right, so we've talked about hands a little bit. Now I want to talk about legs and feet.
Okay.
So one of the worst things you can do in the Middle East, if you want to offend someone, and a student of mine actually told me about this one day. I was teaching an ESL class, and I had some students from Saudi Arabia. And I had my legs crossed. Thankfully, my foot was not in their direction, but it was a really good opportunity for them to give me some cultural enlightenment, which I really appreciated at the time. Basically, if you sit cross-legged and if you point the sole of your foot or sole of your shoe at someone in Asia or in the Middle East, this is seen as very disrespectful. I know, especially in the Middle East, feet and shoes are viewed as something that's very kind of unsanitary and dirty. And so it's
Remember
not
that guy
something
threw his
you
shoe at George Bush?
I do, and
It's the most impressive thing I've ever seen George Bush do.
I kind of love watching that video, though, because you see
hilarious.
George W. Bush's face when he dodges the first one, and he knows the second one's going to be thrown at him, and he dodges. Oh, man. But yeah, and that's the thing. That's like super disrespectful. I would assume that's probably the equivalent of saying, go fuck yourself.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, especially
assume.
throwing it. Even if shoes weren't considered, or feet weren't considered unsanitary, throwing your shoe at someone's pretty offensive.
Right.
But yeah, I think there's an extra level of FU, because I think it is considered very dirty and kind of gross to do that.
Right. Oh, for sure.
Which makes sense.
Right.
If it's a foot.
So we discussed countries where they do either the air kiss, or I know at least in some Middle Eastern cultures, men will give each other a peck on the lips as a greeting, men to men.
And in some Middle Eastern countries, they hold hands too.
Yep.
Men hold hands.
Yes, they do. It's a sign of friendship and brotherhood and all that good stuff. It's interesting how different cultures view different things like, body language and hand gestures and everything else. Well, it's interesting. So in some cultures, obviously, people will use their lips as a greeting, kiss each other or whatever. However, in many Asian countries, PDA in general, public displays of affection, holding hands, kissing, hugging in public, is considered too intimate and should not be displayed in public. So if you are from a country that does the air kiss or even kisses people on the cheek, I would refrain from doing that in most Asian countries because it is considered too intimate and should not be done in public. So there you go.
However, if you're in Europe, there are a lot of European countries that I've been to, Germany, when I was in Czech Republic, I noticed this, France, Italy, Spain. They're very comfortable with PDA. And it's not
Too
uncommon to see
comfortable.
people like making out in the streets and stuff like that.
Yep.
And PDA makes me shocking news, everyone. PDA makes me uncomfortable.
Right.
And so like even like holding hands kind of makes me uncomfortable sometimes. One is just like, I don't know, it's like this is not, I don't know, it's just not that it's not comfortable, but it's just like not free. Like I feel so restricted. That's what it is. I feel very restricted holding hands.
Right. The other thing that I really dislike with hand holding is like some people prefer to have their hands like on the top or the bottom or like the outside or the inside. And when you're with somebody and that doesn't match up, it always feels a little weird.
I just had that situation the other day where I have a lady friend and we were walking down the street and she grabbed my hand and she like put hers behind and I was like, this feels weird. And she's like, but when we do it the other way, she's like, but this feels weird. So essentially just one of us had to be uncomfortable. And I'm like, I didn't say this, but I was like, we don't have to do this at all.
It's when you lock arms with her, man.
Do one of those
Be
do-si-do
a classy
moves?
man. Yeah, lock arms with her, or put your arm on her hip or on her shoulder. But I feel you.
Honestly, I just prefer to
had-
just walk unassisted.
Right. You are a grown man. You are a pretty damn good walker at that. That's
Thank
for
you.
sure. Yeah. It's interesting though. I don't know if we touched on this as well, but eye contact. I know you mentioned it, but eye contact
Yes.
also has different meanings in different cultures. So in the West, we tend to view eye contact as being something positive. And you should have strong eye contact, right? It means you're
Yes.
listening to someone.
Very
It means
respectful.
you're trustworthy. Exactly. Respectful. It has a lot of meanings, right? And this is also similar in Spain, Greece, and also many Arab countries. However, in Finland and in Japan, generally speaking, people tend to avoid eye contact and only seek eye contact at the beginning of a conversation. And I've also heard in some Asian countries, age hierarchy is very important. And it's seen as very disrespectful to make eye contact with someone for prolonged periods of time. And I've heard if it's someone who's your elder, you shouldn't really make eye contact with them at all. So it's kind of interesting.
I heard that too. Like it's almost kind of a aggressive move to like you're it's almost like it's not. It's
a
like it's
power
past
move.
eye contact, and it's like you're like staring them down almost. Man, maybe I need to move to either Finland or Japan. People
guess
will be
so,
like, "Wow,
huh?
this guy is so respectful."
Right?
He
Give
hasn't
him a
looked at me
promotion.
once.
Right?
Yeah, no, and I've actually noticed that here in the U.S., I've been in situations where I have to, especially if it's say like a professional situation of some sort, like I have to, even though it makes me uncomfortable, sometimes I have to actively force myself to do it because I have noticed people almost like searching for my eye contact, like almost like like trying to get at it, and
Right.
I just sometimes I have to accept it, but it is very hard for me to just. I don't know, like I get uncomfortable for some reason.
Right.
But yeah, it is. You got to do it.
I do want to
least
mention
here.
touch as well. So Northern Europe and the Far East are classified as non-contact cultures, which means there's very little physical contact beyond a handshake with people they don't know well. Even accidentally brushing someone's arm in the street can warrant an apology. However, there are also high-contact cultures, such as the Middle East, Latin America, Southern Europe, where physical touch is a big part of socializing. Now, it also needs to be said, in the Arab world and the Middle East, it's generally within the same gender. So like we mentioned, men may hold hands and kiss each other in greeting, but men would not do this with a woman. And then in Thailand and Laos, it's taboo to touch anyone's head, even children. In South Korea, elders can touch younger people with force when trying to get through a crowd, but younger people cannot do the same. So it's kind of interesting. And I think in the United States, though, although we do a handshake and I guess we're not super against PDA, I would say we are not nearly as open with body contact as other countries are. And in the States, I remember being in school and you're taught the personal space bubble, right?
Yeah.
And so it's always fun explaining this concept to my students because in the Czech Republic, I think they don't quite have the same kind of thing. And I think a lot of countries as well that have very populated places and cities, especially public transit, you're not going to be able to have your own personal space. You're going to be crammed in a subway or a tram or something. So I think I've heard certain countries, especially South Korea and China and Japan, where, there's a lot of people in one place, the whole rule of personal space is completely different than what we have in the United States.
And I think that's also similar to like personal space as far as just having even if you're not touching, just having a normal conversation. Like in some of those, and a lot of those countries that you mentioned that they're known for being more physical and just normal conversation, they also tend to stand much closer to one another when they talk. Where that's a great example of the U.S. and the personal space thing. 'Cause it's very weird. Like there is when you're having conversations, there's a good amount of space between people. They're not up in people's grills like that.
Right. And people will get weirded out if you try to go too close into their personal space, right? So it's really, really interesting how all that stuff works. It's really hard to believe.
Another one that I like is the with your arms is just general talking with your hands. Because if you're in a country like Italy or even like the U.S., for example, I would say this counts. Like it's pretty common to be very like, now I'm overly doing it, but it's very common to be very expressive with your hands. And in Italy specifically, if you're not really like that, if you're kind of just standing still, it's sort of assumed that you're not interested or you're not into the conversation. But if you're in a place like Japan, where we've made it clear that they're not really a physical people, it's a little impolite to go crazy with the arms and the hands and the conversation.
Definitely.
But as I said, if you're in Italy, they're like, "Oh, you're not interested in what we're talking about? You're standing there, not moving."
Right. And it's interesting how other cultures view engagement in conversations and everything else.
Did you know that in Bulgaria and in Greece, nodding is the opposite? So like nodding,
I have heard that. Up and down is a negative.
Means no, and then side to side means yes. God, that would be so confusing.
Right. And I've heard in India they do a side to side, but like you don't turn your head.
It's more like a that's terrible. It's more like a bobble kind of almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of that. I have some Indian friends, and they're way better at that than you are.
I'm not surprised.
Obviously. Can we talk about specifically Italians? Because they're known for their hand gestures.
Sure.
So, for example, a common one is the thumb touching all four of your fingers and just sort of shaking your hand, like you hold your hand backwards and shaking it. And when people portray and that's sort of like the Italian stereotype. Like if you're going to do an accent, most people are going to add this hand to it.
Right.
And it can be
hundreds of memes with that hand gesture too.
And it can be used to it's got a whole lot of meanings. Like it's a very versatile.
Really?
Saying.
Okay. Interesting.
It means what the hell are you saying, or what the hell do you want? Okay. It's often used in conversation, even when on the phone or talking to them to themselves.
Forget about it.
And it's often an involuntary gesture that's just a natural part of conversation. So it both has a very specific meaning, but it's also just a natural part of conversation. And what? Okay, sorry. Another one is and I gotta. Okay, this is weird. There's a couple get lost or F off ones. I guess this one could be one of them.
Okay.
With this one, people listening, I did the typical the stereotypical Italian move. This is fun to do. Now they're trying to explain it, and what it looks like is you have your hand like this, and you sort of go up and down like that, which means get lost. Or another one, is sort of the pointy guns.
Pew pew finger guns.
And the subtlety of this gesture often confuses non-Italians who fail to grasp its subtle meaning. It usually involves an outstretched arm that is chopped up and down often accompanying by a by a sweetly smiling face, which means get lost. So it's like,
that's great.
get the fuck out of
Great.
here.
Okay, interesting. Good to know.
Despite the mixed signals, the message is 100% get lost.
Okay.
And that's and they say get lost is the polite translation of that actually. But be warned. Oh wait. It's commonly used. So once anyone has mastered the irony of this gesture, they should feel free to deploy it at will. But be warned, it can turn nasty. Usually signified when the arm swinging looks as if you're about to turn it into a slap. Oh, maybe that has something to do with it.
Okay. Interesting.
Ti faccio un coso così. Here, hands are held out at waist level, several inches apart. Thumbs are stuck out, and the index finger used to indicate either side of the gap between them. This literally means I'll kick you so hard your buttocks that your butt will fall apart.
There you go.
This is hilarious.
It's already broken, Jared. It's got a crack in the middle.
There's another one. There's another one where you do this, where it's like your forearm sort of like you're about to you're saluting from your chest,
From your heart. Yeah. Okay.
and that gesture involves a forearm held horizontally against the stomach, and that means I can't stand with you. I can't stand you. Excuse me. It's like, listen, bro, you got to get out of here.
Right. Interesting.
Whew, man, I could keep going. There's so many. So if you were to scratch in your groin area, the gesture involves using your left hand specifically, apparently, to mimic scratching your left testicle. Italian men do this anytime, anywhere, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're feeling itchy. In Italy, scratching down there is believed to keep evil spirits away and is done whenever a vaguely sinister event transpires. It's almost kind of like us knocking on wood, almost.
Right. For sure. Interesting.
That's hilarious.
Random topic idea. We should do superstitions in different places.
I think we have done that before, haven't we?
Did we?
I believe we have. I'm going to check, but I feel like we have.
Okay.
I can tell you.
I'm not sure. I know we've done holidays and different things like that. Maybe we did do superstitions. Huh. Anyways, I think this has been absolutely fantastic, Jared. I hope our listeners out there have learned some new things about body language and gestures, what to avoid, and what certain ones mean in different cultural contexts.
Or how to expertly curse someone out in Italy.
Exactly. Or keep the evil spirits away. That's for sure. I wonder what women do, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do they just not have evil spirits?
I don't know.
While you're looking, though, Jared, is it cool if I start us off with the song of the pod for today?
The equivalent for women is touching the left breast with your right hand.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
There you go.
There you go. All right. Well,
I know you're excited to talk about this song.
I am. So the song for this week is called Hello.
Real quick?
Uh-huh.
Episode 47, Superstitions and Why We Believe Them.
There you go. All right. Perfect. Check that episode out, Untranslatable Podcast. So today we will be talking about Hello Anxiety by, I believe it's pronounced Fum Viferit, and he is a Thai artist that actually spent a lot of time of his childhood in New Zealand.
Yeah, I think he still lives there now.
I'm not sure. I thought he moved back to Thailand to study at university. But anyways.
Oh, okay. Well, he's 23. I thought maybe he was done. But
could be.
Either way.
First of all, that was like the one thing I Googled about him because I was like, how is his English so flawless? And he writes really good lyrics, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And at first I thought, if he's spent all of his time in Thailand and English is his second language, how can he possibly write lyrics this good? But then it made sense when I read that he was in New Zealand with his parents.
Yeah.
But this song is, so Jared sent it my way, and I have to say, I've become a huge fan of this guy. He's signed by Rats Records, which is a Thai record company, and he's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I wanted to get your opinion because I liked it, and in these days that this song is, my anxiety's peaking these days as an unemployed person. And this song really spoke to me. And I'm always curious, much like when I recommended Tom Misch, which was we had him as a song of the pot a while ago. I'm always interested to get your opinion on a guitar player because Foom, he apparently used to play drums as well.
Yep.
But it seemed like he stopped more just because he was annoying people.
Right.
Like his neighbors, I think is what they said. And he picked up the guitar. And I always want to get your opinion because I liked it, but I don't know. Maybe you'd listen to it and be like, this guy's so derivative, or this guy is like, you call this good guitar? I was like, I don't know.
So I have to say, I really like the way he plays, and also the way the band behind him plays. The song itself, "Hello Anxiety," has a super funky groove to it. Mm-hmm. The guitar chords. I've actually been watching the video, and I can tell you the majority of the chords he uses. Sorry for all of our non-music.
This has been a
engaged listeners right now, but I'm going to get into some music theory here. He uses a lot of major seventh chords, major 7/9 chords, minor seventh chords. These all have kind of a funky, jazzy, groovy feel to them, which really gives this song, just gives it that atmosphere. It's not your typical four-chord four-chord pop song by any means. It's got a lot of really interesting and funky chords. And then the way he mutes the guitar while he plays it gives it also a really nice groove to it. It's really funny because before I listened to the song, I saw the title "Hello Anxiety." I was like, "Oh, great! This is going to be a depressing, sad, slow song." And it's got a really nice beat. Exactly, fun is a great word to describe it.
There's a rapper I like, singer rapper. His name is Fonte. And you mentioned a couple times about the 7th and 9th chord, and every time I hear you say that, it reminds me of he has a song literally called 7ths and 9ths, and let me just read a quick lyric of it because this has nothing to do with it, but it does. He says, "When is a chord more than the chord? When you need to say what's inside, you need a chord that you just can't ignore. You need a 7th or 9th."
Yeah, he's right.
And I never really, I mean, I love that song, but I never really knew what that has to do with anything. And you've talked so much about 7th and 9th over the past couple of weeks that now that song is just burned into my head.
I'll have to give that a listen, but he's right. I mean, it's really amazing. Chords generally consist of three notes. Some more music theory. Bonus addition for our listeners, some music theory today. Mm-hmm. The notes of a general chord are, or a major chord, would
1,
be
3, and 5.
Very good. What would be a minor chord, Jared?
One that's just for me. 1, 3, and 5, but the third chord is flatted.
The third note, the third note is flatted.
Yeah, the third is flatted, not the third chord.
And that flatted third is what gives the minor the sad sound. Mm-hmm. So you have a minor third or a major third, and then the 7th note is generally the note when you hear it. It adds 2 elements to it. It either gives it tension, and you want the note to resolve to a different chord, or a major 7 just has this nice jazzy sound to it. I don't really think there's a resolve to it. With the dominant 7, that's the one that has the resolve, and the minor 7 is just a minor chord with that 7th added onto it, and it has, I think, kind of a cool jazzy, funky type of sound to it.
Now back to Foom. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about as a guitar player? Mm-hmm. What was your opinion on him not using a pick? Do you have any sort of opinion on that? I noticed he was using his hand.
I don't know if he actually plays that way.
If that's just for the music video?
It might just be the music video. I'm not sure. I think it's great. I think every guitar player out there, if there are any of our listeners out there who are also guitar nerds like I am, just a little tip. I think every guitar player out there should be proficient with a pick and with their fingers, because it just allows you to really be free and express yourself in a lot of different ways, and also be able to use a pick and then use your middle finger, ring finger, and pinky to play other strings. Because with a pick is great because it gives you a different kind of tone and attack that you can't get with your fingers. But your fingers give you the freedom to
more versatility.
Right. You can play 2 or 3 notes. I mean, in theory, you can play 5 notes together, maybe 6 if you use your thumb on 2 strings. Whereas a pick, you have to strum it. So the notes aren't all being hit at the same exact time. But I love the way he plays. It's really interesting. And I think harmonically speaking, the song itself has a lot of cool stuff going on with it. And the lyrics are fantastic. I'm a huge fan. I love it. I'm glad you suggested it. I think
Great.
our listeners
That makes
will
me
also
happy.
really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Hello, Anxiety. Check out Foom. He's fantastic.
23
And
years
there's
old.
actually and there's actually a video of them. I just found it on YouTube playing live. And I guarantee you, I think this kid is the type of musician that would sound great live. So check that out as well, because I think not all musicians can play live and still be good. I think some of them are there's so much production in the studio that it's not, you can't replicate it live. But I think with his style of music, his style of singing and playing is very replicable, and it sounds great.
I agree. I like him too. I'm gonna look more into him too. I heard about him actually a couple months ago. I at Colors. Remember we were at the schnitzel place in Czech Republic, and they just had Colors on. He is. I found him on Colors a while ago, and
Really? What song was he playing?
come on, Chad.
Loverboy?
No, I'd have to check. I don't remember. It was a while ago.
That's
I can
all right.
pull
Don't
it up.
worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
All right. Well, Jared, I have a special Czech word of the pod today, and it is řeč těla. Řeč těla. Any ideas what that means? Body language, my friend.
I could have guessed that one for sure. Okay.
All right. So, Jared, I want to teach you two more Czech phrases, though, that will be useful for your Czech arsenal the next time we're traveling the Czech Republic together. Who knows when that will be? But here we go. The first one is všechno. Do you remember what that means?
No, but I definitely remember hearing it.
So všechno means like everything, or is that all?
Okay.
So like when you order food, they might ask you všechno, and that just means like,
Ano.
is that everything? I know, exactly. And then the next one, I had breakfast at this lovely cafe today, so I got some more food-related vocab for you. The other one is mate vibrano.
Mate vibrano. Is vibrano anything that has to do with cooking something?
No.
Okay.
It's have you decided?
Okay.
Like, are you ready to order mate vibrano? Have you decided?
Mate
Are you ready to,
vibrano.
Are you ready to order? So, Jared,
Parada.
what are some Czech words and phrases that you remember?
Well, we talked about ještě jedno, which is another round. And jedno apparently means one. So I guess it's more of another one rather than another round.
Yep, good.
I still remember zaplatime prosím. And that means check, please. Prosím is please.
Yep.
I'm trying not to go back to the ones I always do.
That's
Pivo,
how you
of
learn, though.
course.
You gotta repeat them.
Dobrý den is good day. Pivo is beer.
Do you remember food?
Yeah. Švýčková?
I mean, that's
Is-
a type of food.
Oh, you meant the actual word for food. I do
Yeah.
remember food, actually. I see what you're saying. I think you meant dishes. Food is jídlo.
Very good. Very
Yeah.
good.
Výborný. I remember that because it always makes me laugh because it sounds like someone from like California. I ought to get some jídlo, bro.
Right. Right. Very true. All right. Well, good job, Jared. I think that's enough for today.
Yeah.
I'll give you a harder test maybe next week. So,
Great.
Jared, I'm very excited. I have an original joke for you,
Ooh, my favorite.
and the only joke for the pod. This one doesn't 100% make sense, but we're gonna try it anyways. So,
That's all, okay. Off to a great start.
So what do you call Oscar from the from Sesame Street when he lives in a trash can?
I was never a Sesame Street watcher. I had cable as a kid.
Well, you call him Oscar the Grouch
Oh, but that's only when he lives in the garbage can. Is he the Grouch?
when he's in the trash can. I don't know. But what do you call Oscar with bad posture?
That's great. Oscar the Slouch.
Yes, sir. Oscar the Slouch.
Maybe that's why he's in such a bad mood all the time. He needs to straighten up.
That's true. He's got
stop
to listen to
slouching.
the Untranslatable podcast's episode on body language and hand gestures. That's
I
for
agree.
sure.
I agree.
Without a doubt. Well, Jared, we have come to the time. It's time for a quote of the pod. And I think for this episode, for all of our listeners out there, wherever you travel, please be aware of your eyes, lips, nose, and hands, and make sure to be very observant of what others are doing. Don't forget, also be aware of what you're doing with your feet, especially in Asia and the Middle East.
Remember when we met Joanna at that bar in Prague, and all three of me, you, and Don were all kind of thrown off by the cheek kiss thing?
Yep.
Is that a normal thing in Czech Republic for people to do?
I think half and half.
Okay.
I see it sometimes. I don't always see it.
Okay.
But she seems like a very classy, cultured lady, so maybe that's why.
Yes. She's also very friendly, too.
Absolutely.
Just like me.
that is, you are friendly, just in different ways, Jared. In different ways. Well, everybody, we hope this episode has been useful, especially if you plan on traveling to any foreign countries and aren't sure of the different body language and gesture that is appropriate there. It was an exciting episode for me because I definitely learned some new things, and we hope you all did as well. Be careful with your eyes, hands, lips, mouths, and feet wherever you may go. And we hope that you all have safe and happy travels, or just are doing well while you're listening to this episode. So as usual, we thank you all so much for your support. We hope you've enjoyed and learned some new words or phrases, or as we like to call them, untranslatables. And please check out our social media channels, YouTube, Untranslatable Podcast, Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast as well. You can slide into Jared's DMs on Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1, and let us know if there are any gestures or body language tips we missed this episode on untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, Děkujeme.